Hello everyone. Welcome back to my next lecture video on verb and its types. To begin with, understanding verbs is very important and why it is essential for learning. What are verbs? So these areas we have to get a clear clarity about it. You know very well that verbs are words that express an action, occurrence, or state of being. So they are a very essential part of any sentence in English, and it plays a very crucial role in conveying the meaning and creating coherent discourse. Why do we need to understand verbs? Because verbs are an essential part of language and communication. To convey a meaning or an action in sentences, it plays a very important role. So, the reason for understanding the verbs is we need to convey action. Generally, verbs they describe actions, events, and processes that occur in the world around us. So, without verbs, sentences would be static and lacking in detail. The next important point is grammatical function. Verbs are very essential to form grammatically correct sentences because they indicate tense, voice, mood of a sentence, which allows us to communicate clearly and effectively. Next one is sentence structure. Verbs are often used as the predicate of a sentence, which means they are the main component that carries the meaning of the sentence. So, understanding verbs help us to construct clear and coherent sentences with proper sentence structure. The next important thing is communication. Verbs are very critical for communication because they help us to express our thoughts and ideas clearly and effectively. Whether we are speaking, writing, or reading, verbs help us to convey meaning and convey information. So, to go further in detail, let us look into the different types of verbs. There are several types of verbs in English: action verbs, auxiliary verbs, modal verbs, linking verbs, transitive verbs, intransitive verbs, reflexive verbs, and phrasal verbs. So, understanding the different types of verbs and their function is essential for mastering the English language and use it effectively in both written and spoken communication. Now, let us look in detail one by one about the different types of verbs. The first one to begin with is the action verbs. They are a type of verb that expresses a physical or mental action that a subject can perform. These verbs, that is action verbs, they describe what the subject is doing or what is being done to the subject. For example, run, eat, swim, think, and write. They are all action verbs because they express an action that the subject is performing. On top of it, action verbs can be transitive, which means they require a direct object to complete their meaning. It can even be intransitive, which means they do not require a direct object. For example, look into the sentence which I have given here. I'm eating an apple. Yes, I'm eating an apple. Here, the verb eating is transitive because It requires the direct object apple to complete its meaning. Now, look into the next sentence. In contrast, in the sentence I have given, I am running. Here, the verb running is intransitive because it does not require a direct object. So, action verbs are an essential part of any sentence in English. They play a very major role in conveying the meaning and creating coherent discourse. It also engages the readers or listeners' senses to make things very interesting and engaging. The next type of verb is auxiliary verb. What is an auxiliary verb? They are a type of verb that are used together with other verbs to create various tenses, moods, and voices in a sentence. It also provides some additional information about the main verb and help to clarify the meaning of a sentence. Now, some examples of auxiliary verbs has been given here in the slide. Be. Where do we use be verb? To create a continuous tenses. Means what? Present continuous, past continuous, and future continuous, and the passive voice. So, when we say be verb, they are is, am, are, was, were, been, and being. She is reading a book. They were walking in the park. The report has been completed. Next is have. Where do we use have? To create the perfect tenses, which means present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect, which includes has, have, had, and having. I have finished my homework. She has really eaten breakfast. They had completed the project by noon. The next one is do. So do is used to create the negative form of a verb or to form a question in the present and simple past tenses, which means do, does, did, and doing. I do not like coffee. Does he play saucer? Did she finish the assignment? So the next verb is will. Will is used to create future tense. So she will attend the meeting tomorrow. They will not be late for the concert. Will you come to the party? The next one is would. Would is always used to create the conditional mode. For examples, would and should. If I had money, conditional clause, I would buy a new car. He would like to go to the beach. You should study harder for the exam. So, auxiliary verbs are very essential to construct a complex and meaningful sentences, because understanding the usage and function is very much important for effective communication in English. The next is the modal verbs. What are modal verbs? They are a type of auxiliary verb which express the attitude, ability, permission, or possibility of the subject in a sentence. They are used to modify the meaning of the main verb and convey a range of different ideas. So I have given here some examples of modal auxiliaries. Can always used to express ability and permission. Could, it is used to express ability or possibility in the past or to make a polite request. Some examples, a couple of examples is also given under each auxiliary verb. Will, it's used to express future possibility, willingness, determination. Then would is used to express a preference or a conditional action. Then should is used to express advice, obligation, and expectation. So you should understand the meaning of each auxiliary, model auxiliary verb. That's very, very important with the usage of when you construct a sentence for writing or speaking. May, it is used to express permission or possibility. Might is used to express possibility or uncertainty. Must, used to express necessity or obligation. So, modal verbs are very important part of English grammar. They are used frequently in both written and spoken language, and understanding the usage and function will help you to convey the ideas and express your attitudes with precision and clarity. So the next one is linking verbs. What are linking verbs? Linking verbs can also be called as copular verbs. They are the verbs that connect the subject of a sentence to a complement, which is usually a noun or pronoun or adjective, which can rename or describe the subject. So linking verbs, they do not express action, but rather a state of being or a condition. So I've given some examples for linking verbs. The sky is blue. Now, in this sentence, is a linking verb, which connects the subject sky to the complement blue, which describes the state of being of the sky. Hope you can understand. Second example, she seems happy. Here in the sentence, seems is a linking verb, which connects the subject she to the complement happy, which describes her state of being, right? Look at the third example. The cake smells delicious. Here in the sentence, smells is a linking verb. This connects the subject cake to the complement delicious, which describes the cake's state of being. He became a doctor. Here, became is a linking verb, connects the subject he to the complement doctor, which renames the subject. The flowers look beautiful. In the sentence, look is a linking verb that connects the subject flowers to the complement beautiful, which describes the flower's appearance. Hope you can understand the meaning, right? So when you learn something, you have to understand its how it is applied, what is its meaning. All such things you need to understand clearly. It's very important to note that not all verbs that can be linking verbs in one sentence. It will always be linking verbs in other sentences. See, for example, look can also be used as an action verb. The flowers look beautiful, right? So look can also be used as an action verb. I looked at the painting, if I say like that, right? So these things you have to be very careful with the understanding. The next is the transitive verbs. What are transitive verbs? They are verbs that have a direct object in a sentence. So a direct object is a noun or a pronoun, which receives the action of the verb. So few examples I have given here. She ate an apple. Here in the sentence, ate is a transitive verb and apple is the direct object, right? So the verb ate is showing the action of the subject she on the direct object apple. So this is how you have to understand each and every application of the verbs. He hit the ball. Here, hit is a transitive verb, right? Ball is the direct object. So the verb hit is showing the action of the subject he on the direct object ball. Hope you understand very clearly. They build a sand castle. Here, built is a transitive verb and sand castle is the direct object. So the verb built is showing the action of the subject they on the direct object sand castle. Yes. So like that, she wrote a letter to her friend. He gave me a book. The same is applicable for the remaining two sentences. So here it is very important to note that not all verbs with direct objects are transitive verbs. Some verbs that have the direct objects in some sentences can be used as intransitive verbs in other sentences. Yes, but they do not have a direct object. Could you able to understand? So, if I say, for example, he ran is an intransitive sentence, while he ran a marathon is a transitive sentence with marathon as a direct object. So now when I explain you the intransitive verb, you can clearly understand the difference between the transitive and the intransitive verbs, right? Intransitive verbs are verbs that do not have a direct object in a sentence. They express an action or a state of being without affecting any other noun or pronoun in the sentence. I've given you some examples of intransitive verbs. She laughed. Here in the sentence, laughed is an intransitive verb. What does it express? The action of the subject, she, without affecting any other noun or pronoun in the sentence. That's it, right? He slept. Slept is an intransitive verb. It expresses the state of being of the subject he without affecting any other noun or pronoun. Look at the third example. The flowers bloomed. Here, bloomed is the intransitive verb. It expresses the action of the flowers without affecting any other noun or pronoun. Right? So the same way with the other two examples, they danced all night. The bird flew away. So it's applicable. The same is applicable for the other two examples also. So you have to note that some intransitive verbs can be followed by prepositions or adverbs to modify the verb or provide additional information. Okay. So this is what intransitive verb is all about. Let us go to the next type, reflexive verbs. What are reflexive verbs? Reflexive verbs are verbs that refer back to the subject of the sentence. In other words, we can say the subject of the sentence performs an action on itself. They are usually accompanied by reflexive pronouns. What are reflexive pronouns? Myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. They are all reflexive pronouns. I've given a couple of examples for reflexive verbs. She dressed herself. Here in the given sentence, dressed is a reflexive verb and herself is the reflexive pronoun. So the subject she performs the action of dressing on herself. Right? Look at the third example. We enjoyed ourselves at the party. Here, enjoyed is a reflexive verb. Ourselves is the reflexive pronoun. The subject we performs the action of enjoying on themselves. Likewise, they blamed themselves for the mistake. The cat washed itself, right? Washed is a reflexive verb. Itself is a reflexive pronoun. And the subject cat performs the action of washing on itself. So here, it's very important to note that some verbs can be used both transitively and reflexively depending on the context of the sentence. Okay. So for example, if I say, she dressed the baby is a transitive sentence. And if I say she dressed herself, that is reflexive sentence. Okay. So the last type of verb is phrasal verbs. What are phrasal verbs? They are multi-word verbs, which consist of a verb and one or more particles or prepositions. So these particles or prepositions, they can change the meaning of the verb. The meaning of the phrasal verb is often different from the meaning of the individual words. You have to be very clear with that. When you go through the example, you can easily understand. Turn off. What's the meaning of turn off? To stop the flow of something. Maybe a water or an electricity, right? Take off means what? To remove clothing or to leave a place, such as an airport. Okay. So in this way, you have to understand the phrasal verbs. I have given few examples related to that. You can go through the example clearly. It's very important to note that phrasal verbs can be separable or inseparable. What are separable phrasal verbs? They have their particles moved to different positions in a sentence. Now, when you look into my first example, turn off is a separable phrasal verb. It can be written as he turned the lights off, or he turned off the lights. Either way, it can be written. Look at the third example, look up. This is a inseparable phrasal verb. It cannot be separated. I need to look the meaning of this word. If I say like that, it is incorrect. Hope you can understand what I meant. I need to look up the meaning of this word. I cannot say I need to look the meaning of this word. I cannot separate it. But turn off is it can be separated. Yes. I think I have given you a clear picture about the verb and its different types. So understanding the verbs is very crucial for effective communication and clear expression of your ideas. And another thing, it is a very essential aspect of language, which allow you to communicate with others in a meaningful and efficient way. Hope you can understand. Hope you have understood it very clearly. Thank you. Meet you again with yet another video on the the next part of speech very soon. Thank you.